They talk about the boom, but do they mention the bust? The headlines scream luxury, but the numbers don't lie. It's time to look the market straight in the eye.
Welcome to the Miami Condo Exchange, where we break down the price, the scope, and the range.
With Peter Zalewski, the authority here, making the complex simple, making the murky clear. From the buy side pressure to the sell side heat, we're tracking every move on the concrete street. We got the data, the stats, the metrics you need. Beyond the flash and the glamour, we're planting the seed of truth. We analyze the trends, we map out the spread. Is it vintage charm or a money pit trap? We're looking at the analytics, closing the gap. Past performance, present shock, future prediction. Separating hard reality from the friction of fiction. No sugarcoating, no fluff, no disguise. Just the raw condo numbers right before your eyes. South Florida is shifting, the tides start to turn. If you don't know the math, you're gonna get burned. Yeah, this is the Miami Condo Exchange.
Welcome to the Miami Condo Exchange, where we break down the price, the scope, and the range.
With Peter Zalewski, keeping it real, digging deep in the dirt of every single deal. From the buy side pressure to the sell side heat, the only podcast you need on the Miami street. Hey.
Real numbers, real talk.
The hyperbole stops here. This is the Miami Condo.
Condo Exchange, y'all.
Happy Tuesday, Miami. This is Peter Zalewski. I'm a condo consultant. I'm next for a witness, also the founder of the Miami Condo Investing Club. It's Tuesday at 4 o'clock live. So what does that mean? It's time for the Miami Condo Exchange. This is a podcast about what's going on statistically, as well as the metrics, as well as trends in the Tri-County, South Florida area of Miami-Dade, Broward, Palm Beach County. Today is also our meetup day. I am the founder of the Miami Condo Investing Club, and what we do once a month, we all get together to talk shop, share war stories, pitch our services. So if you happen to be watching this and you're anywhere around Coral Gables, we're having a meetup tonight. It's going to go from 6 to 8 p.m. It'll be over there at Anthony's Coal Fire Pizza on Ponce de Leon, just south of Miracle Mile. We have an open invite tonight for anybody who wants to attend. If you're interested, you can simply go to miamicondo.club. You'll see a post we put up about the meetup, and go ahead, click on it, register, and you'll get all of the information, and you can come join us if you want to talk shop, condo-related type of information. So now that I got that out of the way, let me just point out to you this week's Miami Condo Exchange, probably going to be a little bit shorter. Why? Because I'm going to need to run over to the meetup relatively soon. To give you an idea what the Miami Condo Exchange is, it's about giving you information about what's going on in the condo market statistically, trying to offer you some real-time, actionable information, some statistics you might not necessarily see on the street. Most likely, if you're listening to sell-side brokers, you're definitely not going to hear any of this information. But if you're on the buy side, could be something that's extremely valuable to you. What are we going to be talking about today? We're going to be talking about what's going on with our Condo Cliff Index. We set up the Condo Cliff Index back on January the 1st of 2025. And we follow it and update it every single week. And hence the Miami Condo Exchange, we give you an update every week about what happened in the previous 7 days in the Tri-County, South Florida condo market. We're also going to be talking too about what's going on in the Central Business District of Greater Downtown Miami. This is going to be that area that's going to go from basically the Miami River north to the MacArthur Causeway. It'll then go from Biscayne Bay on the east west to Interstate 95. This is an area that right now has about 10,200 units. But there's an additional 4,300 units that are in the pipeline right now being constructed and should be coming online sometime soon. And what's the significance of that? Well, we already got 24 months of supply, plus all the new product that's coming online. Much of that stuff, supposedly it's under contract. We'll have to see if it actually closes. We'll have to see, too, if there were contracts. I am a big skeptic when it comes to developers and their proclamations about what percentages of their buildings are sold. Many people seem to think publicly traded companies, those that trade on the various stock exchanges in the United States, when those executives come out and say something, there's actually a sheriff in town. That sheriff is called the Securities and Exchange Commission. What sheriff is there in the condo game? There is none. So basically, people can say whatever the heck they want. And based on what they say, chances are you might be thinking you're moving in because, everything is selling out. But in reality, once you start to see the closed sales, you start to see the available inventory, sometimes there's a little bit of disconnect. So we're going to be talking about what's going on in that central business district. Why are we talking about it this week? Because this Saturday from 10 o'clock to 1 o'clock, I'm doing a walking tour. I'm going to lead people on a walking tour. We're going to travel roughly about 4 miles. We'll walk for about 3 hours or so. It'll be at a moderate pace. Everybody who attends, I'm going to give them a list of all of the condo projects that exist in that central business district. And I'll teach how to analyze buildings. We're big believers. You don't find a unit until you find a building. Way too many people go ahead. They chase units. They think that this is going to be their dream place. Then they go under contract. They get all the condo declaration and all the other information. And they come to realize that building is probably not going to make sense for them, for their lifestyle, whether it has to do with pet restrictions, rental restrictions, special assessments, or maintenance fees, or anything related to that. So we are big believers. You go ahead, you find a building. Once you find a building, then you start to focus on the units that make sense. Now, the real issue is when you're looking at a condo down here in the Tri-County, South Florida market, is there's way too many damn condos. I mean, the state of Florida, there's 28,250 condo associations with about 1.2 million units. Come down to Miami-Dade, Broward, Palm Beach County, which is South Florida, you're going to find about 13,000 associations with some of the ballpark of 613,000 units. So the key when you're searching for a condo is to get rid of the stuff that simply doesn't pass the smell test, because why do you want to do due diligence on all of those units and all of those associations? That's what we're for. We analyze all that stuff, and the information we give you maybe complements what you're trying to accomplish. So anyways, going back to the tour, we're going to walk around. I'm going to point out the buildings. I'll tell you war stories. I'll tell you about the developer. I'll tell you about who went to jail, who didn't, who's jammed up, all of that interesting type of stuff. So you'll laugh, you'll get your steps in, you'll get a list of all the condo projects if this is an area you're looking at focusing on, and you're probably just going to have a good time. A lot of people are repeat offenders, meaning they take one tour and then they take another one simply because it's a lot of fun to talk condos, if in fact that's something you have an interest in. So if you are interested in coming on Saturday, go to miamicondo.club. You can get information there on the tours. You'll see at the top there's a section that says tours, or go directly to the ticketing broker, which is called miamicondoclub.eventbrite.com. Now we got all that out of the way. Let's go ahead and jump right into this. I will tell you that, we do this Miami Condo Exchange. We're doing it every Tuesday. We do it at 4 o'clock, and it's live. Because you're watching it live, you're able to see everything. However, once the video is complete, once we edited it for template, for layout, for looks, for design, then it's going to be on demand. Once it's on demand, we will put up a paywall, and you're not going to be able to see effectively all of the statistics that I'm going to be sharing with you momentarily. So that's a good way to kind of lay it out. Let me go ahead and start to share my screen. And again, all of this stuff is going to be the bonus information that's available for club members on demand. But since you're watching it live, you're getting it all for free, gratis, whatever you want to call it, complimentary. So let's go ahead and share that screen, and we're going to jump into what's going on in the index first and foremost. After the index, we'll drill down into why things are happening. And then finally, we'll wrap it up with what's going on in the Central Business District of Greater Downtown Miami. Now, before I do share that screen, let me just sort of throw out to you, we suddenly saw a surge in pending sales. There was a bump in pending sales north of 3% on the vintage side. Vintage condos are those condos that are at least 30 years old. They're under greater scrutiny as a result of legislation passed in the aftermath of the June 2021 Surfside condo collapse, where that tower went down. In Surfside, a tower called Champlain Tower South, nearly 100 people died. A $1 billion settlement was paid out to the families of the victims. Bunch of stuff changed afterwards, and as all that stuff changed, one of the key elements is mandatory inspections. Now these condo associations have to do mandatory inspections every 10 years. It's called the Structural Integrity Reserve Study. And then at the year 30 mark, they're required to do something called a milestone inspection. So now every 10 years, you got an inspection with the SIRS, or Structural Integrity Reserve Study. So year 10, you got an inspection. Year 20, you got an inspection. Year 30, you got the milestone inspection. That's the deep dive. Year 40, if you're in Miami-Dade County, you're doing something called a 40-year recertification. That dates back to the 1970s, 1975 to be exact. And that was something that was put in place after an office tower collapsed on Biscayne Boulevard, right up there by the Adrian Arce Center. So this office tower collapses. The county commission adopts a rule saying, maybe if a building gets to be about 40 years, we need to go ahead and make sure it's inspected to make sure we don't see a repeat of what happened in 1974 and ultimately led to legislation in 1975. So in Miami-Dade County, you got to do a 40-year recertification. Everywhere else, you got to do another effectively structural integrity reserve study. Year 60, another one. Year 70, so on and so forth. One thing you can take away from all of this is I would assume going forward, you're probably getting a special assessment every 10 years. A great way to figure that out is what year did the building come online. Another great way to see when the last inspection was done is to use government records. Government records are readily available. Everybody can see it. It's just a matter of doing your own due diligence. But just assume maybe if you're going into a building and you can figure out when the last inspection was done and when the last work was done, every 10-year cycle, you're probably getting a special assessment. So if you find yourself finding a deal, you might not necessarily be as smart as you think you are. It might be somebody who understands, who understands the special assessments coming, and they simply want to get out now. They want to be one of the first ones to get out and dump whatever the cost is going to be, as well as the experience. You know, I did a podcast with a gentleman who is a general contractor. He does restoration work. What he was telling me is every $2 million of restoration work effectively results in about 1 year of labor. So that's something to keep in mind if you want to live in a condominium and you think weekends are a great time to go out and relax by the pool or do whatever you're going to do. Well, if they're doing restoration work and they're behind schedule, you know what's likely to happen? They're likely to work on Saturday. So worst case scenario, you know, you're living in that building and you got guys swinging hammers on a Saturday making all kind of noise while you're trying to hang out at the pool deck. So these are all elements that are important to factor in when you are looking at a condo. So, you know, keep that in mind. Let's go ahead and we're going to share my screen. And then after sharing my screen, I'm going to get into what's happened on the index this particular week. So I'm sharing it right now and it's popping up. So, look at that. Nice little plug for our tours. As mentioned, we're doing this tour on Saturday. It'll go from 10 to 1. It'll be a walking tour. Moderate pace. We'll wander around. We'll see that whole area, but you can see information on that. If you want information or you want to buy tickets, go to miamicondoclub.eventbrite.com. Let me go ahead and scroll down the screen and we'll get into our charts. Now, what you're looking at here is going to be a line chart reflecting the two indices. One is going to be overall market in South Florida, which would be Miami-Dade, Broward, Palm Beach County. The other one will be the vintage market. These are the condos at least 30 years old. Those are the ones that have to have the milestone inspection done. Those are the ones that are facing greater scrutiny. So blue is vintage, black is overall. And you can see what happened in the last week, that the South Florida overall condo cliff index, it actually went up 1.11%. It's up to 6.97 right now, 6.97.